Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. Here's your flash briefing for the week of April 22nd. City Council will meet for regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. If you can't watch, quickly catch up on City Council meetings by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Recycle Fest is this Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to noon at the city's maintenance facility, just in time for some spring cleaning. Items accepted include license plates, cell phones, rechargeable batteries, wine corks, and even bicycles. Paper shredding will be available up to 4 grocery sacks. Find a full list of acceptable items on the city's website. And be sure to sign up for the city's free alert system, LS Aware. Receive emergency and non-emergency information by text, email, or phone for events such as severe weather and road closures. You choose how you want to be notified. Learn how to sign up at cityofls.net. And this Friday, April 26th, kicks off the first Fourth Fridays Art Walk in downtown Lee Summit. Enjoy local artist exhibits and live music performances inside and outside of participating shops and restaurants. Get all the details at downtownls.org. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, or no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
Have you ever been driving around Lee Summit and wondered what's that going to be? What's being built there? Wow, that went up fast. The Development Minute is here to help, highlighting some of the newest projects in Lee Summit, Missouri. More single-family homes are coming to Lee Summit. Orchard Woods, located in North Lee Summit off of Northeast Lakewood Way, will have 34 lots. Woodland Oaks next to Legacy Park on the corner of Colburn and Blackwell will have 42 lots. And Bailey Farms in South Lee Summit off of Ranson Road will have 3 phases with over 200 lots. Construction of new homes is set to begin in 2024. Luxury living and modern housing just north of downtown Lee Summit is coming. Trilogy Apartments on the corner of Northwest Ward Road and Donovan Road will have 323 units, a clubhouse with a deluxe coffee bar, a large fitness studio with a rock climbing wall, and an outdoor terrace with a heated saltwater pool and pickleball court. Whataburger is expanding to South Lee Summit off of Missouri 150 Highway and 291. The orange and white circa 1950s burger chain offers breakfast, lunch, and dinner, from burgers and chicken sandwiches to biscuits and pancakes. It is slated to open in 2024. The 3.9 million square foot mixed-use project Discovery Park has begun. The 270-acre site near I-470 off of Northwest Colburn Road and Northeast Douglas Street will consist of retail, restaurants, office spaces, entertainment, and luxury multifamily housing. It will also offer a one-of-a-kind Riverwalk district, more than 5 miles of nature trails, and a 4-acre recreational lake to kayak and paddleboard. The first phase of the project, The Village, is set to begin construction in 2024.
This month's Council Member Spotlight is all about Mayor Bill Baird. Check it out.
I have always volunteered in the community and I was always really involved, but then I ran for school board. Whenever I got done with my term, I just felt like I had more to give. It's always been my goal from day one is to get everyone in the community connected and working together, and I always called it a spirit of community. Well, mayor's 24/7 and I have a job. I've had to work really hard at compartmentalizing, is what I call it. So during this time, I'm going to do work. During this time, I'm going to be mayor, even though I can get a call at any moment about mayor stuff. And so I've had to even work that much harder at setting aside time for myself or for family. So I like to exercise, I like to work out. Hillary's my wife. She actually goes to work out with me as well. And we do like to go downtown to the shops. We make sure we maximize our time together. I mean, I've got 2 kids as well, and we spend a lot of time with them, or whatever time they will give us these days. And I have a dog. I think most people kind of know me know I have to have a dog. We have so much development going on, and we're growing fairly quickly, so we have a lot of infrastructure needs, and sometimes we have gaps in infrastructure, and we've always managed to get by, but with this kind of growth, we're really having to be creative and look at our options and just have a good plan for water, sewer, roads, and more. If we want to grow the most healthy way, we need a diverse economy. We do have a lot of retail that's opened up here, and there's been new construction for retail. We really need to focus in the future on bringing some, well-paying jobs here, good, strong employers that want to be located in this incredible community of now 101,000 people. A lot of our workforce does commute to work still, so they leave Lee Summit to go to work, and it'd be nice if we could keep some of those citizens right here in our community. The times I feel most proud are actually when I'm in the community and I see the community come together.
We have Buddy in the house. Mr. Mayor!
The tree lighting is always very fun. I always feel very proud. It's just a great warm feeling. The same thing goes for when the council will do something and we come together and make a good decision together. There's been a few of those that you go home feeling like a winner. And one of them was when we put together the downtown farmers market, when we bought the land, and it became real, all that hard work. But also the Diversity and Inclusion Commission, that was months and months and of discussions and conversations that were really hard to have, and we went ahead and moved forward and as a council all together, and I was very, very proud of that. And there are a few things that the citizens have done that have really helped us tremendously. First, in the middle of a pandemic, they passed a use tax, which is a way for us to collect sales tax whenever someone purchases online. That helps shore up our revenues so that we can continue providing those high quality services that our city provides. And it helps us take care of our employees, it helps us with our public safety and more. So I can't be more thankful to the citizens for that. Lee Summit has the opportunity to have a major impact on the economy in the Kansas City area. We already, as an economy, are rolling along with such a high median income. We have an amazing workforce here that are paying taxes, they're paying property taxes, they're paying sales taxes, they're keeping our economy rolling, and we really are getting the attention of all our neighbors. And I think that what's going to happen is you're going to see the opportunity for us to really get everybody's attention when businesses start moving here, bigger businesses and more so. You should try to find a way to give back to the community, whether it's at the city level, citizen committees, or just participating in some of our community conversations whenever we have those opportunities. It's worth coming out of your shell or taking that leap of faith and just showing up and saying, what can I do or how can I help? The more that we do this together, the more wonderful the community is.
Thanks for watching the Lee Summit Rundown. I'm Laura Ingeman. See you next time.
Welcome, everyone. Would you please rise for the invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I just had a pop. Father, bless those in attendance tonight and help show us a clear path for our work tonight. Help us to be attentive to each other and be considerate of all viewpoints. Bless our community and assist us in fostering the betterment of our neighborhoods by listening to the voices of our citizens. Amen.
Okay, again, welcome, everyone. I'm calling to order the City of Lee Summit regular session number 1. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hodges.
Here.
Councilmember DeMauro.
Here.
Councilmember Pryor.
Here.
Councilmember Shields.
Here.
Councilmember Rader.
Here.
Councilmember Lovell.
Here.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Here.
Mayor Baird.
Here. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. A motion to adopt the agenda by Councilmember DeMauro, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. And I'm an aye. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Adopted unanimously. Thank you. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. Motion to adopt the consent agenda by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
I need to voice vote because my computer is still, so I'm an aye.
Thank you. I believe all votes are in. Nope, we
Member
need
Hodges?
somebody to chime in with their vote. Councilmember Hodges, I think. There we go. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's also unanimous. Thank you all. Next is Council Roundtable, items of general interest, things going on. Welcome to our council members on the dais, Councilmember Carlisle, Councilmember Rader. Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that the art walk will start this Friday. It's going to be, fourth Friday of every month. I'm looking at our cultural commission people here. Very excited to see our local artists and our local businesses collaborating and be a great event. Thank you.
Thank you. Good news to everybody. We've got the landfill House bill passed. That was after going through the Senate. It now goes to the governor. This is, that'd be the final step in giving us the ability to basically veto a landfill at our doorstep within 1 mile. Yep. So we got through I believe, the two hardest obstacles. I can't imagine the governor not signing it. So, all right. So, all right. Well, next we have proclamations. Can I have we've got Bike and Walk Month, and we have Earth and Arbor Day. So can I have? Let's start with Earth and Arbor Day, and have Susan Berry and Michael Park come forward, please. Oh, yes. Come forward, please. You guys can keep coming this way. Michael Park, come this way. Oh, yeah. Okay, very good. Let me start off with the proclamation, and then we'll go around. So, whereas Earth Day and Arbor Day are occasions to celebrate the beauty, diversity, and importance of our natural environment, whereas Earth Day serves as a reminder of our collective responsibility to protect and preserve the Earth's ecosystems, biodiversity, and natural resources. Whereas the health of the environment directly impacts the health and well-being of current and future generations, as well as the diverse ecosystems that support life on Earth. Whereas Arbor Day is a time to recognize the significant role that trees play in enhancing air quality, mitigating climate change, and providing habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees contribute to the health and well-being of communities by providing clean air, shade, beauty, while reducing energy costs and improving water quality. And whereas Earth Day and Arbor Day provide opportunities for individuals, communities, and organizations to engage in environmental education, conservation, and stewardship activities. By virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lee Summit, I do hereby proclaim April 22 of 2024 as Earth Day and April 26th of 2024 as Arbor Day. Can I get a round of applause, please? Would you start us off, Chair of the Cultural Commission?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that proclamation. We're excited for these 2 special days of the month of April, and honestly for the entire year.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Dave Eames, and I'm the Chair of the Cultural Commission.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer Craig, Chair of the Wellness Commission, and thank you for the proclamation.
I'm Michael Park, Director of Public Works, and actually this is a great transitional proclamation. I previously worked on these proclamations as well as Bike and Walk Month with the previous boards and commissions before they were reorganized into the Wellness and Cultural Commissions, and so it's exciting to see this continue. I think it's also a requisite for the city achieving Tree City USA designation again, as well as you'll see in the next proclamation, our bike-friendly and walk-friendly communities. And then also a reminder that we have Sweep the Summit, a spring and fall event, one where we have Recycle Fest, we do stream clean and street clean. We do a lot of Adopt a Street, litter control, and all of this goes towards creating a better, cleaner environment for the City of Lee Summit, so thank you.
I'm Susan Berry. I'm the city traffic engineer, and I also serve as the staff liaison for the Wellness Commission.
Thank you. I'm Hunter Gale. I'm a member of the Cultural Committee.
I'm Linda Chubbuck. I'm a member of the Cultural Commission.
Stephanie Smith, also a member of the Cultural Commission. Happy to be here and really exciting to support these proclamations today. So thank you.
Glenda Masters, Cultural Arts Manager and the Staff Liaison to the Cultural Commission.
Hi, Ed Kramer. I'm a member of the Wellness Commission after years of being on the Livable Streets Advisory Board and the Health Education Advisory Board.
Okay, we'll get a photo with all of them after I read this next one, I think. Yeah, the rest of the Wellness Commission needs to come down. Over here on this side. This side of me, please. Thank you. And who do we have?
My name is Roxanne Evans, and I'm on the Wellness Commission.
My name is Jeff Brandhorst. I'm on the Wellness Commission.
My name is Matthew Silvers. I'm on the Wellness Commission as well.
Okay, thank you. And I noticed Dr. Kramer's here. You probably are very excited about Bike and Walk Month.
I'm always excited.
Okay. I thought so. Whereas the benefits of walking and bicycling extend beyond physical health to encompass environmental sustainability, community engagement, and economic vitality. And whereas walking and bicycling contribute to reduced traffic congestion, decreased air pollution, and improved public health by promoting physical activity. Whereas walking and bicycling foster a sense of community by providing opportunities for social interaction and enhancing neighborhood connectivity. Whereas investing in pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure promotes equity and access to safe transportation options for people of all ages and abilities, National Bike and Walk Month provides an opportunity to celebrate the joys and benefits of walking and biking while also raising awareness of the importance of pedestrian and cyclist safety. Community across our nation are encouraged to organize events, initiatives, and educational programs to promote walking and biking as viable transportation choices. By virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Lee Summit, I do hereby proclaim the month of May as Bike and Walk Month. Do you bike?
Do you bike?
Once in a while.
Okay, I just wondered. I mean, we haven't ever talked about that. I bought a bike in 2020, and it's a pretty nice bike, but I end up walking more. I hear you. So, all right, let's take a photo, and thank you all so much. We're going to see presentations from the committees tonight, so excited to see those. But thank you for being here in person. It really means a lot. Thank you. Who would like the proclamations? All right. Nice days to go biking and walking. Too bad we're... All right, next is a public hearing. We're going to go right into business. We're going to close the regular session and open the public hearing in the matter of a preliminary development plan. U.S. Bank facade update, 1599 Northeast Douglas Street. U.S. Bank is the applicant. Would all those wishing to speak to this matter please rise and be sworn in by the city clerk. Good. Sir.
You might need to help me. All right. I'm Bennett Johnson with RSP Architects, representing U.S. Bank. I'm from Minneapolis. I think I got it. Big, but... Okay, thank you. So U.S. Bank has kind of re-imaged themselves in the last couple of years and is modernizing all their facilities and updating their image and look of their buildings. And this one is here in Lee Summit. These are some images of what we are proposing to do. What you see here, the brick and the stone on the bottom is existing, and we are adding a new sign banner facade on top and the blue branding image, branding color on the main entry. And then we're updating, we're painting the stucco in different areas of the building, the gray, just to bring it up to a little more modern look. So this is the main entry of the bank. This is the main entry looking, so this is what you'd see from Douglas driving by. And then from the looking towards Douglas in the parking lot, this is what you would see. So relatively minor, really, but we're using metal panels, which is a new material in the last 5-10 years, and that is what we're looking for approval to do, is the material of this white band, the blue, and the gray in the corner of the building. These are the colors. We have a metal soffit underneath the main entry here in a wood tone. And that is what we were trying to do. Any questions?
We'll do the staff's presentation, then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. Mayor and City Council, Josh Johnson, Director of Development Services. Not up here to do the staff presentation. Rather, I want to take the opportunity to introduce one of our new planners. This is Ian Treffren. This is the first time he's presented to you. And he's a Lee Summit native and comes to us from the city of Topeka. Went to the University of Kansas, so he's at least as smart as yours truly. So.
Welcome, Ian.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh, for the introductions. Let's see here. So, good evening. My name is Ian Treffren, planner. Today I'm presenting to you application PL 2024-008, a preliminary development plan for U.S. Bank. Before I begin, I'd like to enter into the record Exhibit A, list of exhibits 1 through 19.
Please enter into the record Exhibit A 1 through 19.
Yes. So, the bank is located at 1599 Northeast Douglas Street in the CP2 zoning district. The Ignite Future Land Use Plan designates this property as commercial in nature. The reason why it's before you today is because of the use of architectural metal materials. The UDO requires these materials to be approved by the City Council and Planning Commission for use. In addition to this, and is being reviewed administratively, are resurfacing to the parking lot, painting on the trims, and a brick infill of the drive-through teller window. So moving over to the architectural elevations, the western elevation, which is also the front of the building, you can see the white, blue, and gray architectural metal panels to the above the front entrance and to the left of the building, the left of the main entrance respectively. These metal materials account for approximately 27% of the facade area on this western facade or elevation. And then the northern facade, it also incorporates architectural metal materials, roughly about 10.7% on this. And these are the only two facades where they're being incorporated. And then just for reference as well, here's the eastern facade with the brick infill area, additional trimmed painting, and then the southern facade with some signage included. When reviewing compatibility, staff identified two other properties in the immediate vicinity that also incorporate metal materials, that being the B&B Theaters and the BOK Financial Building. With respect to the Planning Commission meeting and the conversation held during it, the Planning Commission did not have any specific comments related to the use of the architectural metal materials themselves, and the conversation was mostly surrounding other architectural features. So with that, staff recommends approval of this application, provided the two conditions listed here, which are that the development is in accordance with the preliminary development plan and the building elevations submitted to staff on the dates listed here. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Questions for staff or applicant? All right, I'm not seeing any questions. Yes, Councilmember Shields.
I just wondered, the metal panels, we see that on, I feel like, every new building that comes along now. I don't have a problem with it, it looks fine. Why is it that we still have to approve each one? Is this a change that hasn't been made to our code to kind of reflect modern sensibilities, or what's going on there?
Good evening, Shannon McGuire, Planning Manager. Yes, that is an update we are looking at making to the UDO, so it can be on the approved materials list.
Okay, so that's in process?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to the application? Please come forward. Are there any additional questions from council? Does the applicant care to make any further comment? Thank you. Hearing no further testimony, I'm closing the public hearing and reopening the regular session. Is there any council discussion on this application? A great location. Right, a lot happening right there and that across the street too. Very good. Who's got this one? Councilmember DeMoro, would you please read Bill number 24-071?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to advance the second reading, Bill number 24-071, an ordinance approving a preliminary development plan for land located at 1599 Northeast Douglas Street for U.S. Bank facade and parking lot update, all in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 33 Unified Development Ordinance of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading. Bill number 24-071 by Councilmember DeMoro, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion. Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It does pass 9-0. It moves to second reading. So thank you all. I'm going to close the regular session again and open the public hearing in the matter of agenda item 5B, 2024-6225. This is a public hearing application for a vacation of right-of-way. This is a vacation of a 20-foot wide strip of right-of-way at Chapman Road, located along the south boundary of the plat titled Homestead Ranches, generally located 1/2 mile south of SW Scherer Road along the east side of SW Pryor Road. City of Lee Summit is the applicant. Would all those wishing to speak to this matter please rise and be sworn in by the city clerk?
Good evening, Hector Soto, Senior Planner. I'd like to enter into the record Exhibit A, list of exhibits 1 through 17.
Please enter into the record Exhibit A 1 through 17.
Everyone a reference point as to where this is, even though the location was included in that description. Here in the far southwest corner of this image, you can see the Eagle Creek subdivision. We've got Pryor Road down the middle, Scherer Road to the north. So the subject right-of-way that is requested to be vacated is this 20-foot strip that sits along the south end of that Homestead Ranches subdivision. As you can see from the image here on the upper left, everything that's in that what we'll call a dusty sage color is primarily agricultural in nature. There are some 5 to 10 acre tracts that do have some single-family residences, primarily here along Scherer, and there is one 5 acre tract at the intersection of the right-of-way with Pryor Road, and I'll get to that here shortly. So the original right-of-way was dedicated about 64 years ago for a road that was never constructed. The right-of-way was dedicated prior to this area being annexed into the city, which occurred about 4 years later in 1964. So as you can see here again, the area is still primarily agricultural in nature. There is one single-family home here. And the right-of-way is, like I said, 20 foot wide. It's a 1/4 mile long, and this application came about as essentially kind of a cleanup of the inventory of right-of-way associated with the future road widening project for Pryor Road that's in the current CIP plan. So one thing I did want to draw to your attention here is that on the image on the left, the outlined area in red represents the location, the approximate location of that 20-foot strip of right-of-way. And one thing you'll notice is that the driveway that serves the residents at 2041 Southwest Pryor Road currently sits on the south side of that right-of-way. So it's There's a existing shared driveway that serves the PRI-owned property that you see here along the south and to the east. But again, that driveway also serves the residents here on the north side of the right-of-way. So on the right, you see an image where you can see more in this, what would you call this, kind of a magenta color, is the location of that existing drive. In blue here, kind of a cobalt color to the north, you will see that as part of the road widening project, a new driveway will be constructed to provide driveway access to 2041 Southwest Pryor Road. So when the right-of-way is vacated, this rectangle here in red will revert back from being public right-of-way to private ownership, which will be absorbed by the 2041 Southwest Pryor Road. So the relocated driveway will now sit on the same lot as the existing residence at 2041. With that, staff recommends approval of vacation of right-of-way as proposed. I'll yield to any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Yes, Councilmember Carlo.
Hector, so that secondary driveway on the very last picture you showed us, yeah. So the magenta one, is that going to remain for access to the PRI land, or is that going to go away and there'll only be the blue?
That will go away. There will just be the single point of access being the blue driveway on
Great.
Pryor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? All right, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to the application? Please come forward. Okay, yes. Come on forward, Ms. Vollenweider.
On the other three tracks, the other three 10-acre tracks, who has ownership of that right-of-way that's vacated? One farmer, or what's going on there?
PRI owns all of that surrounding property. Every other piece of property that you see on this image is owned by PRI, so that will revert back to their private ownership. So it'll be absorbed by the abutting lots that are all owned by PRI.
Okay, and so how will they access that?
The PRI property has let me pull up an image on my laptop. They have a number of other field accesses that exist along Scherer Road as well as on Ward Road. So even with the removal of this driveway, there are still, I believe, about 3 or 4 other driveways that will provide access to the PRI property.
Okay, and then PRI has no easement on that property that has the house on it? They're not going to have an easement?
Vollenweider, you can, I can let you ask questions, and then, but I need you to kind of roll through like a public commenter instead of like a council member, if that makes sense, so. No, I don't need insults either.
So the image here provides an overview. It's got an overlay of the thoroughfare master plan, just to give some references to just the fact that with the removal of this right-of-way, our thoroughfare master plan shows other locations where future access would be provided through the property. But here you can see an overview of a portion of that PRI-owned property here along Scherer Road. And this is all contiguously owned by PRI. Except for some of these developed single-family homes. But you see there are a number of field entrances that come off of Ward Road and Scherer Road that will still provide continued access to the property that abuts the subject right-of-way. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for PRI and any future owner to have access at other locations.
Okay, thank you.
PRI understands that they don't.
They are aware of the vacation. They have provided no opposition. They've been working with the city as part of this application or in the CIP project.
All right. Thank you.
Any additional questions from council? Any further comment, Mr. Soto? Hearing no further testimony, I'm closing the public hearing and reopening the regular session. Is there any council discussion on this application? Further discussion, Councilmember Hodges, would you please read bill number 24-072?
I advance to second reading Bill number 24-072, an ordinance vacating a 20-foot wide strip of right-of-way Chapman Road located along the south boundary of the plat titled Homestead Ranches, generally located 1/2 mile south of SW Scherer Road along the east side of SW Pryor Road in the city of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, bill number 24-072 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember DeMoro. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Does move to second reading unanimously. Thank you all. All right, that takes us to public comments. Ms. Vollenweider, you are up.
Teresa Vollenweider, 5201 Northeast Maybrook Road. I'm going to start off with, which one is it?
He needs the overhead.
You're going to have to put my time back because something's just not even working here. Is it podium PC? Okay.
Start the time, please. Over. Start the time over, that is.
We're going to start off with this little, the no trespassing sign has again moved. For me, it's lost all credibility. I'll show that. This was today. We had a locator guy on the property, or there was a locator guy. So now it's here when it was back here by the power pole on the north side of the power pole. So now it's moved to a spot right next to a stake that marks my property. This looks terribly similar to the picture that was put in my fence removal letter that I got from George Binger. I will point out again that that is from this first plat that was not signed or sealed by Bob Anderson, Robert Anderson. That's the city, or the city had this picture, and the Collins Mullins had this picture. But this certainly looks like the work of the city, these colored boxes. So you'll see that what has been written on here is, this has been recorded at the county. The red is not your land, you are trespassing. Please quit putting up fence in row. This was not recorded. This is a document that was not even signed or sealed by Bob Anderson. So no, this is a lie. This has not been recorded. Then we got a fence in the red area is in the row, and the underlying fee is not owned by Vollenweider, so a fence cannot be placed here by Vollenweider and cannot be permitted through an encroachment agreement and must be removed. The underlying fee in the area and to the center line is owned by Collins Mullins. Here is their deed. Fence along the south line of said quarter section, north 90 degrees, 0 minutes west, 494.98 feet to the point of beginning, except that part in roads. I don't know how much more clear it has to be. Then I'm going to show a couple of these pictures from the Spire Gas easement, private easement Spire Gas got from Nathan and Laura Sanko. This is Mark Frankenberg, who works for another, agency, or this survey company. They've got the 2016 deed here that they use for this, but that's not the 2016 deed. It's the 2013 deed. And the 2013 deed is this one, where we have again, except that part in Maybrook Road. They're playing around with which deeds they are because they need that road. The 2016 deed doesn't have the exception. It accepts the west 533 feet, but it doesn't have anything about accepting that Maybrook Road. The only other thing I want to show here is the scale on this is the same. 1 inch equals 60 feet, 1 inch equals 60 feet. Does this look like it's the same scale? What is going on here?
All right, thank you, Ms. Vollenweider.
My, the tangled web of lies we weave.
Okay, next is presentations. You saw earlier tonight, we have many of the commissioners, board members of the Wellness Commission. So we have Susan Berry that is the city traffic engineer. She's going to start us off. Jennifer Craig's the chair, and we've got a facilitator as well.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. My name is Susan Berry. I serve as the City Traffic Engineer. I am also the staff liaison for the Wellness Commission, and I came about this job because I was previously the liaison for the Livable Streets Advisory Board, and when the commissions were reorganized, I then moved into the Wellness Commission position. So I'm here tonight to introduce Lauren Palmer. She is a professional facilitator that we use to work with our Wellness Commission to come up with a strategic plan, try to come up with the first few years of priorities that we're going to work on. Wellness is a big topic. We've got a lot of very passionate individuals on our commission, and so Lauren will introduce the chair of the commission, and the two of them will present our priorities.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to start by introducing one of my colleagues, Lucas Parrish. He is a graduate management intern on our team from Lee Summit, a product of your exceptional school system, and has been a great help to us on this and many other projects. He is about to wrap up his Master's of Public Administration at Mizzou, so his internship is winding down, but he wanted to be here tonight for this presentation, and we are sad to see him go, and I hope we can count on the city of Lee Summit to continue to produce and send us exceptional emerging talent for our internships in the future. So Lucas and I were engaged to help the Wellness Commission and the Cultural Commission to facilitate their priority setting process. The foundation of this work is in your Ignite strategic plan that was adopted in 2019, and then the supplemental implementation plan that was adopted in 2020. An outcome of that prior planning work was to periodically review the scope, the purpose, the composition of your city boards and commissions to ensure that they're aligned with your strategic plan. So both the Wellness Commission and the Cultural Commission are newly formed and repurposed as a result of that review and realignment. So our work was to help those boards establish their priorities in support of that strategic plan and in support of their advisory role to the City Council. To that end, each commission participated in a half-day workshop that included reviewing the purpose statement and the roles for the commission that are outlined in City Ordinance, getting to know their fellow commissioners and learning about each other and the expertise and perspectives that each person brings to the group, forecasting the future by envisioning the ideal future state of what wellness and culture could be in Lee Summit, and then establishing high-level focus areas before refining to priorities that were more actionable. And then finally, we used a weighted voting system to identify the most immediate priorities to address in the next 3 years. Your meeting packet for this evening includes a summary report from each of those workshops with a lot more detail about the process and the outcomes. But after reviewing that report with the commissions, they asked for a little more support to help them kind of take it to the next level and develop more specific work plans with action steps, accountability, and timelines to help them advance those identified priorities. So that is the work product that we want to share with you this evening. The chairs of each commission are going to present to you a summary of their work plans. Both of these commissions have very ambitious agendas, and they are looking for your feedback this evening as they get started. These plans are really designed to be pliable. We expect that the action items may adjust over time as the commission gets started with this work, and they learn things from you and also from the public at large as they start to engage more stakeholders. I just want to wrap up by saying how much I really appreciated this opportunity. Lucas and I really enjoyed getting to work with these groups and getting to learn more about the work that you all are doing in Lee Summit. I'm sure that I don't have to tell you that you have got some really exceptional staff and volunteers who are dedicated to this work, and I'm really excited for you to hear their plans this evening. So we are going to start with the Wellness Commission. Jennifer Craig is your chair, and in her professional life, she's the president and CEO of Rediscover. And Jennifer's going to kick us off.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening. I'd like to start by introducing you to the Wellness Commission and thanking you for helping us form our group. We have several members present tonight. And just as a reminder, we have members of Lee Summit who have been here a short while and also longtime residents. We have members of the healthcare profession, both primary health and mental health. We have people who are passionate about biking and running and our trails in our community, faith-based, nonprofit, volunteers. And so we have a diverse group of people that are really passionate about the different aspects of wellness. And they've been working very hard to prepare the presentation for today. First of all, we want to share with you a key theme that came out of our workshop is a concept of 8 dimensions of wellness. And we really felt that after working together that we wanted to center our work around this concept. It's an evidence-based concept that's been used for almost 20 years to really expand the definition of wellness. And so the graphic that we have talks about these 8 dimensions in a little more depth. And I think oftentimes when we think about wellness, we think about physical health, and that's certainly a component. So making sure that we have the physical activity, the nutrition, the sleep that we need to be physically healthy. But we know that wellness goes much beyond that, not only for us as individuals, but also for our community. And so intellectual wellness is an important part of that. We think about schools and other ways of learning and continuing to grow and expand our knowledge and skills. Environmental wellness, and that's certainly where the work on livable streets comes in, as well as other environmental factors that support well-being. Emotional wellness, looking at how we effectively cope with life, mental wellness, having satisfying relationships, financial health and wellness, making sure that we have the resources we need for our financial situations. Social, that sense of connection and belonging is so important of our community and having that well-developed support system in our community. Spiritual health is also a part of the 8 dimensions of wellness, whether that's being part of a faith community or other ways of finding purpose or meaning in life. And then also occupational wellness, having personal satisfaction derived from one's work or volunteer activities, engagement in the community. And so we're recommending, we're framing our work within these 8 dimensions of wellness as a part to expand the definition of wellness beyond traditional definitions. Another key theme was we wanted to prioritize not only the individual wellness of Lee Summit residents, but also community wellness. How are we healthy as the community of Lee Summit? And I will say a wellness commission is something that is innovative, and we're setting a trend. We don't have a lot of those in cities, but we're looking at opportunities to really do something unique and promote the individual health and wellness of our community. And we also think it's important after Lee Summit has achieved the livable streets recognition and implemented those policies to continue to incorporate that in our work and recognize that that healthy environment and livable streets is a part of our priorities as a commission. So we came up with, from our workshop, some key priorities, and the first one is engage. We really want to find ways to partner with local health providers and other key community stakeholders to scan the resources we already have. We want to build on the strengths we already have in our community and identify ways to continue to grow and fill in any gaps that we might identify. And also look at existing data. So how do we know that we're being successful? What measures do we want to look at that really define wellness for our community? And identify the needs, the current needs of our community as well. So that's one of our first steps going forward. We want to further define wellness so that we can talk about that and educate our community about wellness resources in the community of Lee Summit. And also make sure we continue to incorporate and update the essential functions of our Livable Streets Advisory Board into the Wellness Commission as well. And another goal, and we have both a short-term and a long-term goal, is how do we develop a central location for wellness resources, for the community to be more aware of resources that already exist. And that may be virtually by having a place, a website, or a resource guide. But then we've also talked about more long-term plans as well, which I will highlight. So as we look at the priority one, we're looking at proactive outreach to stakeholders in our community using things like emails, surveys, and roundtable discussions, and also reviewing and assessing the Lee Summit's needs within the context of Eastern Jackson County. And we've already engaged with some of the up-to-date data from the health department as well to look at some of the data that they have as part of that process. And really engaging and brainstorming with the stakeholders about how we can promote a healthier community. So including behavioral health resources, hospitals, schools, our senior, we want to make sure we don't overlook our senior population, other social service organizations, our faith-based, as well as businesses that are really passionate about wellness, both what we traditionally define as wellness, but also things like financial wellness that we discussed under the 8 dimensions. And then in that second priority, developing an education strategy so we can promote awareness of the 8 dimensions of wellness throughout our community, that we can catalog those existing resources and identify our strengths and where we can look to improve, and also define and track what our metrics are so we can look at how can we show progress, how can we show that we are healthy and getting healthier as a community. Our third priority relates to livable streets and incorporating that into the Wellness Commission. And we want to make sure that we're reviewing our livable streets policy, the implementation that's already been made, and making additional recommendations as needed within the lens of wellness as we do that work. And then I mentioned the central location. So originally, we're thinking of a digital public directory for resources in our nearer term. One of the things that we know is not all of our citizens know about the resources that already exist here, so we want to make sure that we get the word out about those resources, and also determine the need and viability of maybe what we would call a physical resource center, a one-stop shop for wellness resources, and this would be a longer-term plan. And again, this is in a conceptual stage. We're not recommending that tonight, but that's something on the horizon for us. And that's a summary of the work we've done so far.
All right, thank you. Questions? When you say, what I came out wondering is, do you see the commission as like a hub of information? Because that's kind of how this started a few years back, like even during the strategic planning before there was a wellness commission. We talked about how can we connect everybody and be this hub of connectivity. So can you maybe just elaborate on that just a tad?
Sure, that's indeed what we're thinking when we're saying one-stop shop, a hub where when people are looking for resources for any of those 8 dimensions of wellness, there would be a hub, an electronic virtual hub in the beginning, but also considering a physical hub, and where we can really activate the strong resources we already have in our community. I think sometimes we have great resources and not everybody knows about them. And so how do we bring those together to better leverage the strengths? And I think together we're much stronger when we're working, we're not as siloed as separate organizations, but bringing those resources together as a hub for citizens.
Very good. How has the blending of committees gone? Commission.
Really enjoyed getting to know each other, and I think having that 8 dimensions of wellness framework has given us a real vision. The idea of wellness, there's a lot there when we talk about those 8 dimensions, and yet we really do believe that if we look at the whole picture, the whole person, we have a better picture of what wellness really is for us as individuals and as a community. So we're enjoying the work, and in fact, we're meeting more frequently than we originally had intended because we're very excited about the work we're doing.
I'm sorry I didn't say something about the mental health workshop. What do you want to call it last night? Panel that you had last?
Yes, so we had a youth mental health forum last night. That was a collaborative approach, and thank you, Mayor, for attending. It originally started as a forum for youth. We had over 100 high school students participate. We had therapists on site. Last night, so there were over 100 students that had come. Then we asked for volunteers to present some of their takeaways to the community, to adults, to parents, to teachers, to other stakeholders. And so that was last night, and the students took over planning that and had an hour-and-a-half session talking about their mental health issues and what they need from us as a community. So we certainly, as a commission, several of us were present, want to incorporate their feedback into our future planning.
Well, I just noticed it was school-oriented. You had the different schools, from public to private, from Lee Summit to our surrounding adjacent. So does the Wellness Commission plan on incorporating schools, and you guys having conversations around that?
Yes, we certainly think, that intellectual wellness is important, and schools are an important stakeholder in our work.
Very good. Councilmember Lovell?
Thank you. Well, I had another question, but the school program I was interested in. So when they bring in, so you said you gathered students to discuss their mental health. I'm just curious, is that like a panel that listens to the problems the kids have and offers suggestions? What are some of the suggestions or things that we're doing to combat mental health? And are we using, are we starting to talk about things that are affecting mental health more so than maybe has been talked about in the past, like social media, the importance of physical health, diet, exercise, those things? Just curious.
Yes, so I just want to clarify, that was not a Wellness Commission sponsored activity. It was actually several nonprofits. So that was more in my role as CEO of Rediscover, although we certainly had members of the commission there. But yes, that was exactly what happened. The youth brought up social media and the stress. They also brought up pressure. They also just talked about decreasing the stigma and how some of them were afraid to ask for help. There were some very courageous young people who shared their story and encouraged us as adults to be open to listen and really listen, not have answers, but spend time to say, it's okay that you feel the way you feel and we're here for you, as opposed to just trying to immediately solve the problem, but then talk about how do we get support and resources. And not every youth that spoke had the same opinion because they're all unique individuals, but we definitely saw a theme that they want support, they want to be able to talk more and learn more about how to regulate emotions and express emotions.
And then you mentioned digital hub, but then you also mentioned physical hub. Can you explain what that means? Like, what do you envision a physical hub being?
Well, we had a dream big conversation about a potential physical hub, so it's really early planning and we're thinking several years out. But the concept of it's a place where community members could go when they're needing additional support or facing struggles, and they'd have access to a variety of resources to support their health and wellness. So the idea of, yes, initially having a digital hub, but also offering a physical hub where local nonprofits and other key stakeholders might have a presence to share resources that are available to citizens. That was the idea.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Well, sounds like you've been busy. And we appreciate the time that you're putting in on this because, I mean, the one thing I've gathered is just wellness needs to be, the word isn't holistic, but what's the word you used? Your 8?
The 8 dimensions of wellness.
Yeah, the 8 dimensions of wellness. I mean, it takes a lot of balance.
Yeah.
And I definitely heard that from the kids last night, that they just felt pressure to do this, this, and this, and I didn't give them any time to be a kid. So, so I know that we know the physical side's important, but the mental side as well. But then those other 8 dimensions, I think that's a great start. Thank you for your work.
Having us.
Next, we have the Cultural Commission. This is also a new commission that came out of our Ignite plan, and
Good evening, Mayor Baird and Council. My name is Glenda Masters, the Cultural Arts Manager for the city. I will be very brief. I am just happy to welcome the Cultural Commission here tonight for their presentation, especially Chair Dave Eames. It's been really great working with him and all of our new members of the commission to really see what they have come up with as really just a way to work with our arts and culture and our beautification and our historic preservation efforts for the city. And so with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Chair Eames.
Well, good evening, everyone. This is an exciting night. I mean, I'm really happy to be here. We have talked about this night for the last 6 months or so. So we're excited to share our enthusiasm and our energy that we got from this particular commission with you all tonight. So forgive me if I stumble a little bit when I go through our priorities tonight, but I want you to know that this was the hard work of a lot of folks, some that are here tonight, some that I think are watching, so hello, wherever they are. And I'm excited to tell you about our commission. So our group, let me see if I can figure out how this thing works here. Is it just click down with the arrows here? Okay. So very similar to what Jennifer talked about and what Lauren talked about, we had a really nice session to figure out what the heck we need to do to make this thing work and make our city better. So our commission was made up of several folks within the community. Honestly, it was a really awesome cross-section of folks. We had people with arts backgrounds, environmental backgrounds, history backgrounds, architecture backgrounds. It was a really beautiful blend of folks. And I think we really started to click from the start, and that was 6 months ago or so. These are a few of the background items that our commission members told us. So we had 3 central key themes from our workshop. And the first one was the broad notion of cultural. What does cultural mean? Can it be this all-encompassing thing? We feel like it can. So the arts and history, environmental issues can all kind of fall underneath that, especially in context of what we do as a city. We really wanted to stretch beyond beautification, which was a former committee that was blended into the commission, and speak more to our environmental and sustainability issues in the years and decades to come. In collaboration, I mean, relationships, we all know this is a critical thing to make anything work in our lives. So that is one of our top 3 goals, to make sure that we work with the right people and the right folks to make these things happen. So what were our priorities? And we came up with 5 of them for you. And I'm going to go into each one of these in a little bit more detail here in a second. But I thought I would just show them to you as a summary at first. So we looked at the physical nature of things we need in our community. Those would be our assets and amenities, things that arts groups, history groups, et cetera, could have access to celebrate the creativity and things that are happening in our city. We wanted to look at what's happening either behind us or possibly in front of us in terms of policies and documents that the city could help us work together to guide the priority list that we would like to see implemented. Again, we want to build relationships with everyone that we cross path with. That's a very important step for us. History is of course a crucial thing. Our city's 157 years old, and there was history even before we were founded. And there's history that happened last week. So we want to make sure that those stories are amplified and illustrated within the story of our place. And finally, environmental and sustainability. You know, it's Earth Week. The mayor just had this really cool proclamation. These are things that we should really think about and incorporate into our lives, whether it's in business or the personal side, to make our city that much better. So priority one, a little bit more detail for everyone. We wanted to start to put together a map, essentially, of all the assets that our city has to offer. So this could be everything from gallery space for a visual artist. It could be a theater space for a performing arts group. It could be a place to play music. There's just really a boundless edge to what we would like to see with this. And we understand that all of these things are what makes our city a cultural heartbeat, the things that are important for people to want to live here and be here. So we looked at those things and tried to figure out a way, like, how can we make this an important part where people can access these sorts of things. And that was our foundation for some of our future work looking ahead, because some of these are big ideas. I mean, it's stuff like a performing arts center, which of course would be years in the making, but some of the easier stuff that we're already doing, such as our art walks. Priority number two, policies and documents that the city will help us to implement such a really good program. So this is working with the cultural arts staff here within the city to figure out what we're already working on, what we've done, and more importantly, what we can do in the months and years ahead. And then we wanted to make a list, like what was most important here, and one of those examples is our public art policy, which is currently being worked on by the Cultural Arts Department here at the city, and that's going to be really important for us to look forward to how we display, maintain, and celebrate public art within our boundaries. And then essentially doing a cultural master plan down the road. Many cities have these. It's a great way to look at what your city offers. It's a good selling point from your city. Those are some things we'd like to work on in the time ahead. Collaboration, relationships, we all know that's a critical thing. So we want to work together with the folks that can help us get things done within the city. We want to work with folks even beyond our boundaries, because there's a tremendous amount of influence, magnetism, things beyond our city limits that can make our city even better. One thing I want to touch on here is that we've already reached out to several key groups here in the region, and I'll just give you a quick little list of those, because they all are fairly heavy hitters and will be really nice for us to lock arms with. And that includes Arts KC, the Missouri Arts Council, the Missouri Humanities, the State Historic Preservation Office, and the Department of Conservation. Those are 5 really good groups that we hope to link together even stronger with. History is a big part of our group, and we want to tell stories of our city, everything from the key things like its founding, the people that were here, the people that helped grow the city, but we also want to talk about stories that maybe aren't as amplified, stories that are maybe missing from our history book here in Lee Summit. So we'll work together with our Historical Society and some other partners to help illustrate those stories. How do we tell those stories? How do we get those in front of folks that would be interested? And finally, priority 5 is all about the environment, sustainability, beautification. This is a big part of our committee in figuring out how do we blend this sort of large thing like the environment into the Cultural Commission. So we really want to look at that more, and we don't have the answers for that yet. But we know within our group, we've got some great minds and some good hearts to make this happen. So those are our 5 priorities for our commission. Again, phenomenal experience. Working with fellow Lee Summit citizens is really an honor, and we appreciate the council and the mayor for that opportunity. And I'm open for any questions you all might have.
Good. Questions? We do have a lot of art activities, or, I mean, right now we have the Parade of Hearts in town. We have different organizations from cultural to musical to visual. So you've got to be that hub, right, to all of them, and also just help. I've given out facts or stats before on how much the arts actually are a generator of an economic generator for a community. Do you guys picture yourselves helping, be that voice of, here's what we do, but here's also the economic benefit to the community, and here's how we're helping all of the organizations in our community that are, because it's not the easiest thing to even make it as a nonprofit in the arts, if we all know that. I mean, your group knows that, but I think the community needs to know the kind of support that it takes. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think we can be that sort of education foundation, letting people know where they can go to get resources. And that goes back to one of our first priorities with the asset mapping. So folks could go onto there and figure out, hey, I want to go to a gallery show tonight, or where's live music at tonight, or I want to take a hike on a beautiful weekend. Coalescing all that together so that folks can see that. We would be hopefully the guidebook for that. But I think we'll have to work with all these other organizations to make sure we get that information out there. But yeah, that's a big part of it.
And you'd be working with our future DMO. Do you picture yourself working closely with them?
We do. We figure, the arts, like you said, Mayor, is an enormous economic driver. But just as importantly, it's a driver for tourism. People go places where there's cool stuff.
I know people come to see those hearts, that's for sure.
I know they do, but even in our alleys downtown, people taking pictures of the murals or of signage or of sculpture, that is an important driver that really is not really listened to or heard very much because it just happens after hours. But those are things that we want to absolutely be a part of the DMO to make sure that we can trumpet what we have, but more importantly, what's coming, which is really exciting.
And then I'm sure it's not easy, but the downtown, we've got all the renovations going on across the street. So I'm sure you've got your eye on that, and you're trying to make sure that you have can put your fingerprints on that.
Absolutely, from the public art that will be displayed there. We just this week talked about the main gateway piece that could be there at the entrance to the plaza. Looking at the artists that may be asked to build that piece for us. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to figure out what this piece could be for the next 50 or 100 years and really become an icon for the city. So I think we'll play a big role in that. And that outside the windows here, that's going to be, a real spike the ball moment when we know that we've got this incredible place that can showcase all of our cultural amenities in one spot.
Okay, and one more, because we have other council members that are chiming in now. So just the coming together of the different committees, that's gone well?
It's gone really well. We still need to reach out and start to forge those relationships. So, for example, with our Historical Society, many of us know the folks involved with the museum and some of the events they do, but I think we need to start to connect now that we've got our priorities set to make sure that those hands are extended to all those groups.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. You stole my thunder.
Nobody chimed in. I don't usually speak first. I wait, but then nobody chimed in, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 I saw 3, and I was like,
Last
oh.
2 questions, those were my
sorry.
million-dollar questions. Do you have anything iconic that you're thinking of already? Like the Arch in St. Louis or something for Summit?
It won't be the arch magnitude.
Something like that.
Right, but the piece that we are working on, in fact, yesterday we had a nice meeting couple of our commissioners are on that group to help choose the artist and eventually the concept that will be out here as a gateway into the new downtown Market Plaza. So I think that has the ability potentially to become as iconic as the neon heart down here that everybody uses in all of their marketing materials, or the look of our city, the lakes, the parks, all the cool stuff that people know about Lee Summit.
Well, no, I have total confidence in you and the commission and all the volunteers, and same with Jen and the Wellness Commission. There's a few of us on council still that were part of during the strategic planning process for the city, the Ignite plan, and after that process is when it was discussed that maybe consolidating some of these commissions and committees, was an idea, and I know it wasn't received well by everyone. I know that there's a lot of people that just feel strong about different committees and initiatives through, within the city, and I want to commend your commission and the Wellness Commission for just volunteering to take these issues on, and they're not easy. I know there's a lot of time, and have full confidence in the two chairs and their leadership and the rest of the committees, and I'm sure you'll come up with some great ideas and come back and something iconic.
Yeah.
Still looking for something iconic.
Honestly, Beto, I think you would be proud of the way that the wrinkles and folds that we all bring to a commission like this were smoothed out. And I feel like that is one of our greatest successes. If we stopped today and this was the end of it, to be able to look at all the people around that table and know that as a community we came together with all of these different backgrounds and came up with 5 really cool things that I think our city can take action on. I mean, what more do you need? That's a great start.
And I would agree. It's very commendable. So I really appreciate all of your efforts. I know it wasn't easy, or I'm sure there was challenges at times, but your leadership and you guys coming together says a lot about our community. So thank you guys.
Thank you too.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Lovell.
Thanks, Mayor. So kind of apropos, I think you leading this commission, I think no one has, I'd be hard pressed to find someone that's had a bigger contribution to the beauty of our downtown, and that's shown in your work and your partner's work. And that's when passion and profession come together. That's when the magic happens. And so, as I think bigger picture ideas and things like that is one thing I'm sure council's heard enough for me and even planning, but just kind of the beauty of how we're developing new areas in really bringing this aspect to some of the new developments too. So not just areas where we're already seeing it succeed with the downtown here, but how do we incorporate this into new developments and ways that we can work together with the planning department and some of the design elements and things like that. I just think it just provides so much character and like utilizing history and things like that. So I just appreciate the work you guys are doing, and I think it is, it really brings a sense of community when you're incorporating that stuff, when we pay attention to beauty and design and elements and materials and things like that. And so I think we've got a real challenge, but a great opportunity as this city continues to grow and develop, that we can demand more. And I think commissions like this can help us see those areas, use your expertise, your knowledge in design and things like that, and help us work hand in hand so that we're, not just delivering kind of spreadsheet developments that look okay, but like really, what do they look like in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? And so I commend you guys, and I think you've got a lot of work ahead, and I hope that we are a body that helps support you and that we can work collaboratively, and we can really, we have a really good opportunity to shape this community in a great way. So I just commend you for that. And then the next question would be like, there's got to be some exhibit with your journal drawing entries, or, can we get that on the side of the wall? I love those, by the way. They're amazing. So
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you for your work, and hopefully, again, we can keep working together and really shape this city in a beautiful way. Thanks.
Yeah. And we absolutely plan to. One of the great advantages of where we are at this time in all of our lives and where we stand in this piece of geography is, man, there's some good momentum happening right now. And it's because of a lot of what's happened with you all and the people before you to keep our city moving forward. So it's nice to be able to get together with a group of people to say this is possible. Optimism reigns over the negativity. That's just a really good spot right now, so we should take advantage of that. That's why I agree with you totally.
Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you. And thank you, Dave, and the rest of your commission for, first of all, taking on the challenge of, combining all of these into one. And I know, back to what you were saying about the other Kansas City and Missouri groups that you're reaching out to really kind of lock arms with. And I think that is fantastic, but especially with what's coming forth with the World Cup and all of that. Are you guys looking at that? I mean, obviously you are, but thinking towards, like, what can we do to make sure Lee Summit isn't left out of the things that are going to happen with all of these people that are going to come into the Kansas City area?
Yeah, that's a great question, Trish. I think within the Culture Commission, obviously, these are all things that that will attract folks to come to our city in 2 years. I mean, that's really 2 years away, which is nuts. But there are other groups, including the Chamber, Downtown Main Street, Civic Roundtable, people that have talked about what can we do in 2026 to attract the world, essentially. So we've already got some ideas in place. We're not quite sure the structure of how that happens. I don't know how that might interact with what the Culture Commission is doing. I know they'll be partners, but yeah, I mean, think about just the opportunity outside the door here within this beautiful new space to do things, to welcome people from other countries or other states that are going to be here watching these games. So we have thought about that, but we got to figure out a way to get that going. Like, how does that happen? So, and I hope it happens soon, because we do know other communities around us have a little bit of a head start.
Well, hopefully with you guys reaching out to some of these other communities and these other groups, they can kind of pull us along and tag team up with us and help us get going for that. And also with what staff can do and then the other organizations in the town. So hopefully we can get on that pretty quick. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, you got a lot of stuff you guys got to do, just so you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start talking about beautification, because I'm there with Councilmember Lovell on that, I would love to see us take, some longer term initiatives on. But those are big tasks, so I know you'll get there. So, but just know that I think you're hearing from us. We support that, and thank you, like was just stated, thank you for your hard work.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate you.
Would you all like to take a break? Want to keep going? Good. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to get on with some business. We have proposed ordinances forwarded from committee. Councilmember Shields, would you mind reading bill number 24-073?
Move for second reading, Bill number 24-073, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Titan Built LLC for the amount of $87,825 for pre-construction services for the joint operations facility in Phase 2 Police and Courts renovations, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
We have a motion to move to second reading, bill number 24-073 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you. And this is for somebody on staff. I'm not sure who, but really this is to this one and the next one. And I did go back and watch the committee meeting for these. So I did look for my answers before I asked. And it may just be in the way that these contracts are written, but I remember always having a not to exceed number in our contracts for construction. And in reading through them, it does say, to be determined, or we'll, at a later date, we'll figure that out. So that concerns me in that I know there's a budget somewhere, right? And I know that there is a number. I mean, I hope there's a number. But, so where is that in these, and what might we see coming forth?
So this portion of the contract is just for the pre-construction services. And so they're at the phase currently where they're starting to get the first construction estimates associated with that. Now, there is a budget number that's associated with the no tax increase bond election. So that sets the overall project budget. Now, that's for the entire project. So that's more than just the hard costs. That's also the soft costs associated with it. But these next two contracts really are just engaging the construction manager at risk for those pre-construction services. So that's working with the design team throughout the design process and adding that construction expertise and pricing along the way as we go. So as that GMP, that guaranteed max price, is developed, that's when the numbers get firmed up a lot further with that.
Right, but that GMP, that's for total project, right?
That's for the hard costs. That's just for the
Just hard
construction
costs,
costs.
not-
That's
okay.
just for the soft costs.
So in other words, then this portion of the contract where they're doing the planning and the design phase and all that doesn't have a do not exceed number on it. It's just,
Well, I mean, the overall project budget has a portion of that, but we haven't entered into any contracts associated with that. So I was just looking at we've entered into the contracts for the design phase services as well, and this is another provider for that, and I don't know the total budget off the top of my head for that.
that's just what I was looking for. I'm like, I understand this is just one part of what's gonna be many contracts for this entire project, but just for me, it just helps me, you know, if I know how it's broken down and what we need to spend, and so that we don't come back overspending by millions of dollars at the end. That's just, and I'm not saying that's what we're gonna do, but in my mind, you know, if you don't have a budget for each portion of it, then it's easier to overspend. And so that's just what I was looking for, so.
Gotcha. So budget by phase is what you're looking for. I can, if you give me a few minutes, I can look and see if I can find some of that broken down
Well, I don't need it
information.
right now. I mean, these contracts are gonna go through tonight, so they're not there, right? I was just, in future, and this is probably something that needs to go through committee or what have you. Like, I know you guys are working off numbers. I mean, you have to be, right? So I would just like to see those. It just would make me feel better when I get phone calls that say, why did we go over this by X? I can say, well, you know, in this portion, we had it to here, and in this portion, we had it to here, so.
Yeah, and a lot of that's in the capital improvement plan, and each one of these projects are included in the capital improvement plan as well. And so the total project budget's in the capital improvement plan, and that's where those numbers are at, and then they get refined as the project continues to move along.
Okay, so, okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 8-0. Councilmember Shields, would you please read for adoption?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption of Bill number 24-073, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Titanville LLC for the amount of $87,825 for pre-construction services for the Joint Operations Facility in Phase 2 Police Courts renovations, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-073 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Lovell, would you please read Bill number 24-074?
I move to advance second reading Bill number 24-074, an ordinance authorizing the execution of agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Newkirk Novak Construction Partners for pre-construction services for the Fire Station 1 replacement or renovations.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading Bill number 24-074 by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Lovell.
So just to piggyback off of Councilmember Carlisle's questions on, and I remember this going through Public Works. So the contract that we're approving tonight is similar, though and I think there was a dollar amount in the contract for the services, but this is the pre-construction phase again.
Correct.
Because it does indicate the GMPs in there, but they would come back later with and these are two options now, because I know that things have changed, right? Because we're trying to decide if we're going to renovate, or if we can renovate, or if we would have to replace.
That's correct.
So that will be part of this discovery process, like what they're going through right now.
Yes, to determine whether to tear down or replace. That is one decision point that will have to be made, and that decision point, I believe, is coming up pretty quickly, within weeks' timeframe.
So then that would come back to us and be like, we can't, or it's cost prohibitive to do.
Yeah, that would be a
But
discussion.
would we have a number for a new build at that point too, to say like, to be able to adequately say,
Yeah, everything will fall within the authorized budget from the no tax increase.
yeah, because this one has a budget from the no tax increase,
Yeah,
right?
so does the joint operations
Okay.
facility. They both have budgets associated from the no tax increase, but again, that wasn't broken down by phase, like by the design phase
Right.
versus the hard cost phase. I didn't have those numbers in front of me. I believe the joint operations facility was around $35 million, and I believe this budget for all of Fire Station 1 was around 18 million for the overall budget.
And I don't know, and I think that's a great idea too, because, you know, if like we've, you know, just like if we were going to go build anything, we have a budget for it, then we see how those numbers come back and make adjustments or changes accordingly. But having that starting number would be good for our reference point too, clearly identifying it. I don't know if it could be in there or whatever, but I just wanted to, I had a question, and I remember it coming through Public Works, but just clarification on renovation versus replacement. So we're entering into this agreement. They're going to go do the kind of construction manager at risk process, and then we'll come back with actual GMP at that point. And when does?
Yeah, the actual GMP will, so.
But we would still
before-
have to approve the GMP.
Yes, yeah, before we get to the GMP, the decision has to be made whether to renovate or tear down and replace.
Okay.
So as part of that, there is a study and analysis that's being done and cost estimates that are being ran that will help be the basis of that decision-making. So that'll be a decision point that will then determine the direction that the design continues to go, because we don't want to design both options completely. So we'll have that decision point to then know which direction to go. Then that design will get further developed with the pre-construction services, so that'll go hand in hand together and ultimately get to that GMP
Gotcha.
price on that.
Then what if it was just wildly over what we anticipated? What do we do then?
Redesign.
Okay. Got it. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It passes 8-0. Councilmember Lovell, would you please read that for adoption?
I move for adoption Bill number 24-074, an ordinance authorizing the execution of agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Newkirk Novak Construction Partners for pre-construction services for the Fire Station 1 replacement or renovations.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-074 by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read Bill number 24-075?
Thank you, Mayor. Bill number 24-075, an ordinance approving the award of bid number 798 for the traffic calming project for Northeast Mulberry Street, Northeast Independence Avenue, and Northeast Brandywine Road to MegaKC Corporation in the amount of $163,431.85, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same. Be second read.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-075 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Adopted unanimously. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please?
Thank you, Mayor. I move Bill number 24-075, an ordinance approving the award of bid number 798 for the traffic calming project for Northeast Mulberry Street, Northeast Independence Avenue, and Northeast Brandywine Road to MegaKC Corporation in the amount of $163,431.85, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same be adopted.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-075 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Shields, would you please read Bill number 24-076?
I move for second reading of Bill number 24-076, an ordinance authorizing the execution of the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission cost share agreement supplemental number 1 between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for State Project Number J4P3196, M291 North Interchange with US 50, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading Bill number 24-076 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's unanimous. Councilmember Shields, would you please?
Thank you, Mayor. I now move for adoption of Bill number 24-076, an ordinance authorizing the execution of the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission cost share agreement supplemental number 1 between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for State Project Number J4P3196, M291 North Interchange with US 50, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-076 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 8-0. Thank you. Councilmember Rader, would you please read Bill number 24-077?
Mayor, I move to advance to second reading Bill number 24-077, an ordinance awarding the bid for project number 576322-8C for the stormwater improvements Noeleen Lane to Earthworks Excavation LLC in the amount of $344,037.55, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading. Bill number 24-077 by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Does move to second reading. Councilmember Rader, would you please read for adoption?
Mayor, I move to advance for adoption Bill number 24-077, an ordinance awarding the bid for project number 576322-8C for the stormwater improvements Noeleen Lane to Earthworks Excavation LLC in the amount of $344,037.55, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-077 by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember DeMoro. Discussion? Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's unanimous. It's adopted. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, would you please read Bill number 24-078?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I move for second reading Bill number 24-078, an ordinance awarding the bid for project number 792-OV for the Mill Overlay Fiscal Year 25 Program to Ideker, Inc. in the amount of $4,292,231.22, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-078 by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's unanimous. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, would you please?
Yes. I now move for adoption of Bill number 24-078, an ordinance awarding the bid for project number 792-OV for the Mill and Overlay for Fiscal Year 25 Program to Ideker, Inc. in the amount of $4,292,231.22, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-078 by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. And now we go to proposed ordinances, first reading. Councilmember DeMoro, would you please read Bill number 24-079?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to advance to second reading Bill number 24-079, an ordinance approving the Fifth Amendment to the amended and restated Summit Fair tax increment financing contract between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Red Lee Summit East.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-079 by Councilmember DeMauro, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Shields.
So I understand this is changing the allowable percentage of non-retail businesses. Do I have that right?
Good evening, David Bushek, Chief Counsel of Economic Development and Planning. Yes, that's correct. The TIF contract currently provides that only 5% of the total square footage in the shopping center can be non-retail uses, and this increases it to 15%.
Can you talk a little bit about what those uses might be and also what they couldn't be? I know that there's been some concerns. I think Councilmember Pryor had some concerns about the possibility of things like check into cash places going in. And we just wanted to know, are there restrictions that would prohibit certain types of businesses? And then can you talk about what kind of businesses might go into these additional?
Yes, I can. So a little history about this TIF contract provision. In the Summit Woods TIF contract, there was a list of prohibited land uses. And then when we moved on to the Summit Fair TIF contract, there's both a list of prohibited land uses and then also a list of pre-approved users. So to answer the first part of your question, this is the list. It's kind of fuzzy there. This is the list that's part of the TIF contract that has the prohibited uses, and there's 2 pages. You'll see at the top it says the uses allowed are anything in the CP2 district, and then there's a long list of prohibited uses. It's A through Z, and then AA through MM, which would be 39 prohibited uses. Here's a quick peek at page 2. There's a few other, one other use at the top there, and then LL, that's the restriction that we're amending. The 5% goes to 15%. So this list here is probably the list you're most interested in.
Very helpful. I see that it has check cashing or payday loan operations is already as a prohibited use, so that's good.
And then there's another list that's part of the TIF contract, and it's a pre-approved user list. This is also 2 pages. And back in 2007, 2008, when this contract was negotiated, the developer said, we would like to work with not just a prohibited land use list, but we'd like to have a pre-approved user list. So this is a list of the pre-approved users, page 2. And this applies to any user over 20,000 square feet. So if they propose a user that's not on this list, that's over 20,000 square feet, City Council needs to approve that use, or that tenant.
So when we're talking about non-retail uses, that might be more restaurants or services, nail salons, that kind of thing. What counts, or is restaurant considered retail, that it's selling
Yes,
taxable sales?
Restaurant is retail.
Okay.
And this page answers your question. The indented paragraph describes, needs to have taxable retail sales paid at the time the sale is consummated, or retail sales tax is paid at the business operation within the redevelopment area. So anything that collects sales tax is a retail user. Non-retail, anything that doesn't collect sales tax. Services, right.
Okay, that answers, I think, the questions that, when she watches this back later, will feel more comfortable.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Carlo.
Thank you, David, or Mayor. And David, just to kind of piggyback on that, can you maybe explain why you would want more of your TIF area to be non-retail?
Well, a representative of the developers here, and I'll have him come up and answer that question for you.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me. My name's Scott Rehorn. I'm one of the founding partners of Red Development. I'm in charge of doing all the deals for our company. And believe it or not, I started putting all the deals together for Summit Woods in 1998. So I did every one of those deals that's in there and in Summit Fair. So been around a long time.
But the real reason is since we put this stipulation of 5% in, is retail's changed significantly, and I think we'd all admit and agree. And the reason that we needed to make these changes is something like Club Pilates is not counted as someone that generates retail sales, but they generate trips to the center actually daily. And so what we've been struggling with, because we are at our limit, is what we have been struggling with is to, with national tenants, we had to beg to get Lululemon to come to your city. We have other big players now that want to follow, but then they show up at the center and say, they don't want Talbot's and Coldwater Creek, well, they're bankrupt, but sorry. But you know what I mean, they don't want necessarily women's fashion. They want this everyday service that people are going to frequently, so that they will then play off of those. My best example I always give is my wife in Phoenix is not a Sprouts shopper, but she goes to Club Pilates every day, and she runs into Sprouts almost every day because she forgets something, needs something, whatever. So they do generate retail sales. That being said, our goal is not to fill up the center, the rest of the center, with tenants that are service-type tenants. The goal is, we just did, in the old Forever 21 space, you'll see coming through, it's probably into planning now, a 12,000 square foot craft putt, which is kids, I mean, it's a craft beers restaurant that has putt inside so it's a family-oriented operation. All of those are all retail generating sales. So we have a couple tenants that are national credit that you guys want that are staring at me saying, how come we don't have some of these other tenants that are now in every lifestyle center out there? So that is why we've spent the last year going through and getting the bondholders to agree to make this change.
Great, thank you. Then just one more question, David. Can you let us know where we stand on this TIF?
Yes, we can. I don't have that information tonight, but the finance department certainly does, and we can do that. And I'll also mention one other thing. Relatively soon, probably 5 or 6 weeks, we'll be having a public hearing, which is our, called a 5-year public hearing to review all of the TIF plans and their progress. So that's probably exactly what you're asking for.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. I would just ask Mr. Rehorn, would you go ahead and just explain, just so, since you're here, and I know getting bond holder approval is kind of a big deal. It takes a little time, and you got to convince them that that's the right move as well.
Yeah, it took a year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half to get this approved by all the bondholders. We had to hire to do a big study to actually get and communicate with all of the bondholders, which some of them are big institutions and a lot of them are individuals. So everybody was notified. We had phone call with all of them to allow them to be and ask questions, same type of questions. So it was quite the process to get them to agree to do this change.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Yeah, thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor to move to second reading, bill number 24-079. Further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 8-0. Thank you. All right, committee reports. Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Mayor, we will have Finance and Budget Committee May 6th at 4 p.m. in the chambers here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, takes us to council comments. Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. And I don't know if this is protocol, since this is my first day, but there was mention of a letter from EDC, commitment letter or something like that. And I was wondering is that something that we can put on an agenda in the very, very, very near future? Or will that be?
They got a letter to us today. Mr. Dunning, you want to expound on the letter?
Sure. So the background here is the council, many of you may recall the letter agreement that we crafted here as a body, and then we shared with the LSEDC on a plan of action to move forward. The EDC Board of Directors has been discussing that letter agreement, and they have had at least 2 meetings where they've discussed the letter of agreement. And today, they had communicated, and I shared with the mayor and the council that they had hoped to have a formal response back to the mayor and the council by this meeting today. So they did share some feedback. It's not an official board action. They are, I would couch it this way, they are still working on that letter agreement language, but they wanted to share an update of where they're at as of today to fulfill that commitment to circle back with communication to the council. So my perspective, the board needs to continue their work to formalize as a board and communicate back to the mayor and the council. Basically, it's a thank you for the draft of a letter agreement. Here's our thoughts. And then we would bring that back. I would work with Mayor Baird after the LSEDC board takes action to then bring that back to the mayor and the council for consideration.
I think their next meeting is May 7th. 7th is there where they could take a formal action. Right. Yep. Councilmember Shields.
I have a couple of comments I want to bring up, and one of them was about the EDC letter. So I looked at their proposed changes, and I actually made a red line that I've emailed around to everybody. I would be inclined to have us go ahead and sign this and deliver it to them as an offer. I feel bad continuing to drag this out and drag it out. Our next meeting isn't for 2 weeks. If we're waiting for them to act and then we have to, like, this could drag out for more months, and like, we all deserve to have a roadmap in place. So looking at what they proposed kind of splitting things into 2 phases where they could, well, they say during phase 1, go ahead and start negotiating a PSA with us. I'm fine with the 2 phases, but I think based on our prior discussions that we want to have those phase 1 actions of new bylaws, light programming, reorganized board done before we negotiate a PSA. And that's what I redlined. And I understand if we want to take more time and consider this and send it back to them, but I really feel like this is a really reasonable offer. It takes into consideration their concerns. It gives them the options for extensions. It gives a lot of flexibility, but it still has a pretty clear roadmap on what it's going to take to start negotiating that PSA. And to me, it really would make sense to have us, well, you, sir, because you'd be the one that would be signing on behalf of the council, to sign this and deliver it to them, and then they can consider it. And if they accept it, then they can sign and we can start moving forward on this path. But if they don't, I mean, I can understand if they want to tweak something here or there, but like, I think this is about as generous as we can be. It's giving them some pretty simple steps to take, and then once those are done, they can start negotiating a PSA with us, even while they're still working on that mission, vision, and what do they call it? A statement of core values. So that would be my request, is that if we had consensus of the council tonight, because this isn't something that's coming out of left field. We've been discussing this for weeks and weeks already. I think it'd be reasonable to sign it and deliver it to them.
I haven't seen your red line. What's in your red line?
So I just emailed it around tonight, but basically it takes out the phase 1 deadline, because I don't think that you need that. Just saying that they'll start working on these steps when they complete phase 1 steps, which is resuming like programming, adopting the bylaws, reorganizing the board, and reinstating the invoicing investors. Then they can ask to enter into a PSA, and that they'll continue working on the phase 2 steps while we negotiate the PSA, and it keeps that October 15th deadline. So they could do all this at any time, but it has that deadline for all the actions to be completed by October with the 2 options to extend. So basically the big change is they're asking to negotiate a PSA while they're still working on those phase 1 steps, And I'm saying, I think that they should complete those, especially reorganizing the boards that we know who we're actually negotiating this agreement with before we start negotiating it.
Yep. And then to give council members just a little bit more background, the EDC did strike through in our draft letter, filling the board positions that are vacant right now. Want to skip ahead to drafting the bylaws and reconstituting the board to save time. Everybody on the EDC had consent for that.
I think that makes sense, honestly. I can understand not wanting to appoint someone to serve for 2 weeks, then you adopt new bylaws and you totally start
Yep.
a new board. So
Makes sense.
I'm fine with that change.
Yep. Yeah, I'll go around on that. Councilmember Carla, do you want to comment on that one? Or do you have other comments?
That was not what my comment was for originally, but
Yep.
I would just say that although I trust your red lines, as we do pretty much the same thing, I've not had time to look at the letter, so I really can't comment on what's in it.
Yep. Councilmember DeMauro?
Thank you, Mayor. I saw Councilmember Shields' red line, but I was also crafting an email, and then I saw both of them together pop up. So I did have another request, and we were essentially saying the same thing before Phase 2 starts, and a possible PSA was requested. So I just wanted to make note of my email also of the reconstitution of the board with council members. So just wanted to throw that out. Want people to. That would happen before. Thank you. I would
They also
request
moved,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
They also moved yes, he did. I just looked. He did circulate it. They also are trying to move the dates up. They want to draft the new bylaws, reconstitute the board, and then they're trying to expedite the PSA and getting things going. So I think they threw a date in there of some type. Is that correct?
They did. I just didn't see any point because they were saying as soon as you finish Phase 1, you can start negotiating this PSA. So I don't
Right.
think they need an extra deadline just to.
Yeah, they gave themselves a sooner deadline, which you took that out.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
said all of it
Okay.
by, but as soon as they have it.
All right,
Phase 1
so
done, yeah.
first off, I would support what you put together. However, I cannot say that this is a board action that they took because they did not approve this.
Right, but that's why we would sign a letter and send it to them to sign and send
Right,
back to us.
okay.
Like, this is the offer, then they need to act on it.
All right. I would, as much as I would like to do that, I just have to respect what Councilmember Carlisle said. She wants time to read it, and I'm sure others do too. And I'd have to push this to May 7th, which is the very day that they meet, which complicates things when they meet on the day that we're meeting. They need to offset and meet between our dates, or I guess meet on Thursdays, or something to give more time between these meetings and such. Do you have a thought?
Well, they can call, May 7th is their next scheduled meeting, right? But they could call a meeting in advance, because if we're trying to expedite this, if we're trying to get this in as an agenda item and as a packet and try to get this done, then that makes total sense to me. There's urgency, they can call a special meeting to make it happen.
I'm just thinking about what, I want to respect what Councilmember Carlisle said, because I know I saw other people nod when I said that. So I don't know that we should be calling for a motion to approve that, your red line tonight, even though I support the intentions of your red line.
Could we
Absolutely.
do like a special Zoom meeting, 15 minutes sometime before, I just feel bad, like, waiting 2 weeks and then that's the same night as their meeting. Like, it'd be really nice if we had something to present to them before their next meeting.
No, what Councilmember Shields is saying, just let me try to summarize it and correct me if I'm wrong, is just because they didn't take a board action and send it to us doesn't mean we can't change our offer to them. So we made an offer to them in a letter of understanding, memorandum, whatever you want to call it. We made an offer to them. They technically didn't counter. They talked about it. They sent us back something that was very close to what we talked about, though not exactly. So therefore, they didn't approve that board letter that came back to us as a board. Another draft that the director sent to us and the board did not have input on. Have input on it, they have to have a quorum and they have to talk about it, and they didn't. It should have got done in the meeting itself, but it didn't. Okay, so they like, oh, let's expedite this, like you're saying, so they forwarded a red line that didn't match up exactly. It was close, but didn't match up exactly what was said, so they really need to take a formal board action. Councilmember Shields is saying, well, that's fine, they can take a formal board action, but that doesn't mean we can't just speed things up by sending them a revised, we can see what they sent us. Let's just respond to that real quick, send it to them, because it's not really a counter, it's just us changing our offer of our draft to them, and saying, hey, we're fine with you skipping to this, and we're fine with whenever you get this done, and we can get this done. I will tell you all that I told them if they could get the bylaws and the drafted and the board reconstituted, that I had a lot of confidence they would get $200,000 out of the city. So I said that in the meeting. I just said that's, I think, a given. But then they sent us a letter saying that they wanted to talk about that while they, instead of after they draft the bylaws. They've had the bylaws for months, basically almost finalized. They just haven't finished them. So it's not, it would take a heartbeat for them to just finish the bylaws, I think, make final decisions. But then they have to give notice to the membership, and there's some things that they have to do to finalize those bylaws. But they really do need to get started. Otherwise, if we wait weeks and weeks and then they respond and this goes out another couple months, then the time that they're worried about is going to pass by. Is that a good summary?
That is a good summary.
Okay.
And to me, as we think about this, to simplify it,
Yep.
we sent to the EDC these action items and basically said, once we get through those, then let's talk about a PSA. Their suggestion is, let's phase this, right? And that's where I will share with Councilmember Shields that I shared that same concern with their red line, was that my understanding of the dialogue by the council was new bylaws, new board and officers in place, and then let's talk about forming this relationship. So I shared that same sentiment as I saw the red line. So in a way, the suggestion is to phase this in order to begin those PSA discussions. How I'd wrap it up.
I do have one idea, which is if council wants to give time, because I agree, I want to see her red line and look at it too, is we could do a Zoom meeting special on Thursday this week. Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock at the end of your workday, 5 o'clock if I need to, whatever you want. We could do a quick, she said 15 minutes with this group. Nothing's going to take 15 minutes. It's going to take 30, so you'd have to plan on, a 30-minute meeting at least. Although I don't think the changes. Yeah, we'd give them, we'd get that. We could discuss this and take a measured approach, get it to them, and then they have it for their May 7th meeting. Thoughts on that?
I'm not available
Oh.
either.
Not available? Okay. I didn't want to do it next week because it's our 1 week off. And I really try to protect your weeks off, but we could do a Tuesday meeting next week. do you guys want to have a meeting before we get it to them, or do you want to just let
We
this
can
ride?
throw my red line up on the screen. You guys can look at it. It's not that complicated. It's not as bad as the last one, I promise. Not as many changes.
I've got it on my screen.
I just feel like the more we drag this out, it's wasting their time too. Like, they need to be able to act on this and start moving forward. And it's just too easy. If every time we do a draft, it takes a month for us to go back and forth on it, we're never gonna get it done.
Okay, but I would, I'm sorry, Councilmember Carlo. I was just going to say, it would make it easier if you would stop formatting everything. I'm serious, because it distracts from, okay, what's this change? Oh, she got rid of a
Well,
space.
It doesn't
I
help that they
mean,
sent it to me in PDF, so I had to convert it to a Word document to redline it.
please throw it up on the screen, Mr. Dunning, so I can try to get council to tell me to either let this lie or do something. Do you want me to break? Yeah. Okay, you have their changes, you have Councilmember Shields' changes, but you need to hit that line on the left, those lines, one of those lines, and it'll pop up what her changes are.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay, yeah, you
strike
can.
through in
You're
red.
right. So she struck through in 2 phases. Oh, yeah, okay. That is correct. Struck through on or before phase 1 and just, it's to completing the action items in 2 phases. And then phase 1, instead of, this is really the big change right here, phase 1, right there. The first thing is,
So phase
All right,
one
'cause
pretty
I
much
haven't
stays
seen
the
this before.
same. I just, instead of commit to resuming, actually resume it, start doing light
Okay,
programming, adopt the bylaws, reorganize the board, and reinstate invoicing. Phase 2 doesn't change at all. And then the big change is down towards the bottom, where we're saying we'll commit to working with them on a PSA after the phase 1 completion. So
Okay,
instead of
you're-
saying when
yeah.
completing phase 1, sorry.
okay, I see that.
Yeah.
So those are really all minor changes up above. All you're doing is reorganizing it. There's no change up there.
And taking out the July deadline for
Okay, you
phase
took
1.
out the July deadline. Okay.
But the big change is saying instead of while completing phase 1, it's after completing phase 1. then we'll
Right,
talk
this
about
is the big
PSA.
change right here
Yeah.
where it says PSA. Instead of while completing phase 1, it says after completion. This is what you're saying, because that's what you communicated. Took out the dates, and then you're communicating that. Personally, I think what I heard in the meeting, Mr. Dunning, is that they were fine with this, but then they sent a letter that said something slightly different.
Would agree.
So I think if they don't like this, they could easily respond their reasons and a change.
I would agree. I think we're, in many ways, trying to say the same thing, but I think this is cleaner.
Well, Councilmember Carlisle, she made changes, Councilmember Shields did, took out a date. Yeah, scroll back up. She changed a couple, like resume instead of commit to resuming, okay. And then she took out this October 15th deadline that we
No,
gave them.
so it's just, if you go up a little bit further, instead of saying phase 1 by July 31st, it's just saying 2 phases by the action completion deadline, which is October 15th. And then down below it says, once you finish phase 1, then we can talk about a PSA, but you'll keep working on phase 2 and try to have it done by October 15th.
He wants you to go slower, Mr. Dunning, go back up. No, I'm going to go to Mayor Protem Lopez, and then I'll come back to you.
I mean, in listening to their presenters and people that have reported to us, the EDC board, last time we talked publicly, I think everybody wanted to get it done soon. Having not had a formal response, but we got some response, I think it shows that we're trying to expedite this. And I think these red line suggestions by Councilmember Shields are adequate. I'm prepared to move forward with this. And it just shows in good faith that we want to get it done. And we want to work towards a PSA. And I don't think there's anything that's a deal killer here, in my opinion. So I'm prepared to move forward with this. Thanks.
Yep. Who else? Go ahead and just chime in on here. Councilmember Carlo, do you want to go? Please. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So I see these red lines now, and that, yes, makes sense to me. But the one thing you just said, somebody just said, that they understand not filling the board yet because they're adopting new bylaws, and then they'll have to go do these things. So is that still a step?
So in the prior draft, it said they'd fill the current board as it exists, then they'd adopt bylaws, then they'd put in a new board. So they took out filling up the current board, they're just going to adopt bylaws and then reappoint board rather than having someone serve briefly just to be, I think is the idea.
All right, and I'm assuming that you guys have all seen the bylaws. I've not seen the bylaws, so I don't know what all of this entails, but that's...
Councilmember Hodges and former Councilmember Edson served on the committee that helped work on those, so I know they had some input.
So...
I think they were shared at some point with everyone, because they all met. Board members started meeting with council members, so they shared it. So we need to get that draft to Councilmember Carlisle.
I would agree.
And Councilmember Rader.
Yep.
So, phase one, do these things, reappoint board, adopt new bylaws, which are already written pretty much, you guys have said, and then reinstate invoicing of investors. So, I mean, yeah, I have no problem with that. And then during phase two, they do these things. And during this time, we're working on a PSA, or they still have to complete? Okay, so during phase two, we're working on a PSA as well. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with what this says. And, yeah, I think moving it along, except for I didn't see that red line, sorry. Okay. And so after this and we start working on a PSA, would that be like a joint meeting like you've done before with like the planning commission or the parks? Would it be like that, or would it be?
I think it'd be a lot like this letter of understanding. Actually, our staff put it together first, and then we combed it through and then sent it to them. I think that's probably the way we would do it. I know that when we get to that point, I have shared my personal opinion with them in the EDC meetings that I'm not as concerned about the performance measures of this first year, other than a strategic plan. That is a given. But I do know that some council members feel a little bit stronger about performance measures, such as reporting. But we can work through all that. We just did PSAs with the DMO. I mean, we've got a basics, right? Mr. Head, you got to feel pretty comfortable with putting together a PSA with the EDC after doing the DMO.
Yeah, we should be able to put together some information in a PSA fairly quickly. The difficult part of a PSA for the EDC, and it's what we have fought all along, and it's exactly what you just mentioned, Mayor, the really hard part is coming up with good performance measures that actually mean something. I know many years ago we had this the same issue. That's the hardest part of the agreement. The rest of it's simple. But the hard part will be the performance measures. I know you said the first year you weren't worried about it, but it's probably a multi-year agreement, so maybe they don't go into effect the first year, but they spring in after that. But yes, we can get one done and get a draft ready fairly quickly.
And then we might still have a joint meeting after that to solidify it.
Okay, I was just, everybody's talking about expediting it, and I thought instead of back, forth, if we just all get in a room and bang it out. But I'm good with whatever. But I'm also okay with these red lines.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, it's not a contract, it's just a draft. They
Right.
have to work through it and come back anyway.
Correct.
So, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Councilmember Rader?
Thank you, Mayor. So then would we, so we're sending this to them and saying, okay, here's what we're countering back to you, basically. And then, I'm using a real
counter.
estate word.
It's not a counter. I'm sorry. I just want to clarify.
Okay, what is it?
We changed our offer to them because.
Okay, we changed our offer to them. And so then going along with what Councilmember Carlisle said would be, then we just get back into the room and we hammer it out and get it done. I mean, we're going back to them with this, we've changed some things, and then instead of going back and forth, then we just get together and make it happen and figure it out. Because, I mean, they may come back with something a little bit different, but am I making sense?
I think you're talking about the PSA?
Talking about the letter. Talking about this proposal.
We have been going back and forth on the letter. This should be ready to be executed pretty close.
Okay, so we think that the changes aren't going to be that impactful then for okay. So then I would say then we just sign this darn thing and send it back.
They can, again, if they don't like a word, they can counter. and
That's
we
what I'm
can-
saying,
Yes,
counter.
or like a sentence or whatever.
They can tweak it a bit and then boom-de-boom, we're done.
Okay.
Okay.
Eventually, though, you're good with it? Okay. Eventually, though, we might have to get everybody in a room again.
Okay.
If we start going back and forth on the PSA over performance measures, we might need to get them back in the room. I
Right.
don't actually see that happening based on where I feel like we are as a council and where they are. I just feel like we're getting really close. Yeah. Okay. So send these minor changes back with my signature. You have to prepare this. Mr. Ed, Mr. Dunning.
I feel.
Accept the changes, and then I'll sign it, and then we'll get it to them. But go ahead. You feel what?
Yeah, I was thinking this is what we did last time. We sent them red line version. I did it that evening after we crafted this.
Okay, that's right.
And so this is taking what they proposed, redlining that again,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
we can say
that's
that
fine.
per direction from the mayor and the council.
Councilmember Shields was wanting me to sign it and make it official, but I totally agree with what you're saying. I just send it to him with these changes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's just, it's not binding, so whether I sign it or not.
Taking direction from the
I
body.
mean,
think we're good.
do you really think they think it's more serious if I sign it?
To be totally clear, and I don't know that everybody agrees with me, but I think we should present this as this is our final offer. We've listened, we've taken your feedback, we've worked with you, and this is what we're willing to do, that you need to actually complete these tasks, and then we'll talk about a PSA. And I don't see why we need to keep going back and forth. If they're really not willing to commit to completing things like actually adopting their bylaws and filling out the board, then I don't see how we can work with them. And if they are, then there's no reason not to sign it.
I think she's got great points, but they counter with something that I sign. I still want you all to consider it, so whatever it is. I know you're she's a tough cookie. I like it, but yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
And you might be able to answer this, or I'm curious to get your thoughts, or Mr. Head, assuming we send this back, not signed, are there deadlines for them to respond? Because are we going to come up to May 7th or whatever, and they're going to meet, but we have a meeting that night too? I mean, when do we expect to get
Mayor Pro Tem, they struggle to meet unless they schedule it weeks out.
I guess that's to your point.
Well, no, like their 6 months has already turned into 5 months at that point, which again, like I'm not trying to be like a super stickler, but that's why I think like we just need to finish this. They can start working on all these action items. Like
Could
I
we
don't-
state we'd like a formal board response by a certain date? Could we say that?
Yeah, throw a date out there.
At the end of that week, when they meet? Yeah, of that week, yes.
Put the end of that week, which
Like
would be
a response, a
8th,
formal
9th,
board.
10th, 11th, be the 11th.
11th?
Yeah, it gives them till Friday. No, the 10th, it's the 10th.
10th.
Gives them the 10th. so
End
they
of
got-
day on May 10th.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get us something
In
that
advance.
night, but well, the problem is once they meet on the 7th, we're gonna meet an hour later, and like, we're doing this again. We're looking at a red line or something, or talking about something that I haven't even had a night to sleep on yet, which is it's frustrating for the same reasons that we've already discussed. So, give them till the 10th, and let's just see where it goes.
Okay.
All right,
Mayor?
Councilmember DeMoro.
Thank you. Going back to, and I'm not trying to muddy the waters, but my request, where would that fall in? Is that something that,
What was your
At a
request? Help me
chance.
with your request. The bylaws?
Huh?
What was your request?
reconstitution of the board with 2 council members?
Oh, with 2 council members. So, go ahead, Mr. Dunning.
I was going to say that would be contained within the bylaws, and it's my understanding they have that as a discussion item for their next meeting.
Okay.
It's not in there yet, but it's up for a discussion.
So will we have a notification that possibly if we, talking right now, would we have an answer on that same time? I mean, if they're going to meet, do you know if they're going to copy that or cover that in their next meeting, or have they set another meeting for the bylaws?
I'll tell you. So let me, Councilmember DeMoro, let me summarize it because I was behind. When you said your request, I wasn't sure what you were talking about. So let me make sure everybody knows. Councilmember DeMoro has requested that 2 council members plus the mayor be on the board of directors for the EDC.
That's great.
And this was discussed in the last meeting because I brought it up because I knew that it was a concern of yours. So a board member called you and discussed it with you and brought it back to the EDC for discussion in an email. And in the email, one person responded and said that, they understood and they supported that. But again, these are busy people and they all didn't respond. So Councilmember, they need to discuss that in their May 7th meeting and get us a response. I think that needs to come with it, and I will make sure that whether it's the answer you want or not, I'll make sure you get an answer.
Just an answer?
Yep.
Preferably,
Yeah.
that's right. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, and again, Mr. Dunning, we need the bylaws, again, send it to everybody, not just Councilmember, the new Councilmember.
Send it to the entire council.
Yes, please. I think the big concern, Council, is that they don't want this to get out to the membership because the membership hasn't seen the bylaws, the bylaws that they're about to adopt. They need to get them out to the membership, so they need to make these final decisions and get it out. So this should escalate that. All right. Did I get it cleared up? What his request was? With his request?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Councilmember Carlisle. We're moving on from the EDC discussion unless there's anything more.
Because I did have a second thing.
Oh, yes,
This
you
one's
do
really
have a
short.
second thing. Yes, you have the floor, Councilmember
Yeah,
Shields.
I just wanted to know if there were any updates on the DMO, or maybe if that could be something on our next agenda, just from staff to kind of let us know where things are at and when we might hear back from them. No, I'm kind of throwing this one out at you from left field, so.
Yep, we can provide a,
Crystal Weber, Assistant City Manager. So the DMO had a meeting week before last to start working with the consultant on their budget plan and request. And they're meeting again the week of May 1st to wrap that up. So they're getting closer to having a presentation to be able to share with the council.
Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, and this really isn't the place for this, but I didn't think about this earlier. We have a Recycle Fest coming up, yes?
That's correct. This Saturday.
And it is where?
At the maintenance facility between 9 and noon.
And that is only for recycled materials, not e-waste, correct?
Let me pull, I will read you the items. How about that? Shredding of confidential documents, up to 4 paper grocery sack limit. No binders, staples, paperclip. No binders. Staples and paper clips are okay, though. Bikes, tennis shoes, prescription eyeglasses, license plates, golf balls, tennis balls, rechargeable batteries, no car batteries, though. Cell phones, keys, wine corks, hearing aids, prescription pill bottles, no medicine, remove the labels are items that are listed there.
Awesome, thank you. And do you know if those items go like the bikes? What do? They don't break those down, do they? Nobody knows. I'll stop.
We're gonna have to phone a friend on that one.
So I can't speak to all of the things, but the bicycles go to a local nonprofit that refurbishes them and gives them to those in need. The corks go to a group that recycles them into something. So a lot of it is reuse and recycling, not recycling down into base products. So.
Perfect, thank you. I have a whole garage of bikes I'm trying to get rid of. My kids don't ride them, they've gotta go, so thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Other council comments? All right. Staff roundtable.
Just one item, Mayor. I sent an email out to all of you. Per an ordinance provision, the city manager is to provide a written recommendation to the mayor and the council for inclusion in the budget that we are preparing for a performance management audit. And so I routed that information to you. Just for awareness, that would be on the municipal court operations. I had a meeting yesterday with both judges and the court administrator, and all were in agreement. They felt that the audit over municipal court operations would be very timely. So I sent that out, and what I will do, Mayor, is make sure I get that memo incorporated into this packet under staff roundtable just for public. Covered the other topics with House Bill 1751 and Recycle Fest, so.
All right. Thank you. All right, we need to go into a closed session. Councilmember DeMauro.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 610021 of the revised statutes of the state of Missouri pertaining to legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communication between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys, and pursuant to Section 610021 of the revised statutes of the state of Missouri pertaining to the leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body where public knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration. Therefore, I move for closed session.
Second.
We have a motion to go into closed session by Councilmember DeMauro, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember DeMauro.
Aye.
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor is absent. Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Thank you all.